في أكبر الكتب.
Congratulations, you have found the Lambcast, the official podcast of the large association of movie blogs, also known as the Lamb. The Lamb is the largest collective of online movie blogs and podcasts with 2,000 members and counting. Every week on the Lambcast, various members of the Lamb community get together to talk about our favorite subject, movies. So bookmark the Lamb and follow us on social media. Be sure to join us each week to hear a lively discussion of films and movie-related talk from our members. Join the flock at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Hello all, and welcome to the Lambcast. It's been only a month since we did a top 5 roll your own show, but because they're easy for the Lambs to join, and that I forgot we had one just 5 episodes ago, we're dipping into that well again. No worries, however, because except for your host, it's a completely different cast of Lambs on this week's show. Jeffrey Lyles brings his action figure enthusiasm to the show, making me anticipate the X in question more than usual. Welcome back, Jeffrey.
Thank you so much. There's so many options to choose from, a roll and the inquest.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun, the second part of the show, to talk about these things. David Brook is back with us as well. Will he be recommending martial arts films from Singapore this week? Who knows? But we'll find out in a few moments.
Not this time for a change. Not this time. I'm trying to have a break, a momentary break from martial arts.
Excellent, excellent. Nicole Ayers, the sound of Philadelphia is alive and well in the spirit of the Mad Lab Post publisher. Nicole Ayers, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with something sweet, something spicy, something that smells, and something that sparkles.
Oh my goodness, it sounds like we've got a Twilight episode coming. And Dave Anderson will not really mail you a free kitten, but he will offer you free advice on new media releases and old classics on his site.
Thank you for having me once again. I don't have anything sweet, but I have something reliable.
Excellent. Well, anyone who's listening and is somehow unfamiliar with the format, let me briefly explain. The guests are asked to generate a top 5 list of any cinema-related topic, either random or ranked, and then we share our lists and talk about the subject in a round-robin format. Now, the topics are not pre-screened, so they're a surprise to everyone else on the show except for the person who's bringing that particular topic. So I'm looking forward to all the things that people have creatively come up with, and some of the things that they probably relied on just because they are in a good mood. Let's hope that it all goes well. David Brook, I'm going to ask you to start us off. First, tell us what your top 5 list consists of, and then tell us the first thing on your list.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, this episode sees me. I was kind of a little unprepared in the lead up. I've had a lot of stuff to do, and my head's just not been with it. So I thought I'm going to be lazy, and I'm currently reviewing I'm supposed to be reviewing a box set of Alfred Hitchcock's early years. So I thought, you know what? Let's pick out 5 underloved, let's say. I won't say underrated, because with directors like that, a lot of them get good ratings and things like that. But I'm going to talk about some that a few of his films that I think just don't get enough love. They don't get talked about enough from his early years. I was going to say just his British years, but then I realised one of the films in the list just creeps into when he moved to America, which is kind of bugging everything up. But so let's just say the first half of his career.
I like that.
So yeah, and I'm going to start with probably my only real proper controversial pick, because this is a film that most people who've kind of watched through Hitchcock's films think is one of his worst. And it's certainly his most out of character. But you know what? I watched it recently and didn't mind it. And it's Waltzes from Vienna, or I think in America it's known as Strauss's Great Waltz. So this basically sees Alfred Hitchcock, who everyone knows as the kind of he's the man to go to for thrillers and kind of horror, pseudo horror and things like that. And so what is Strauss's Great Waltz? It is a romantic comedy biopic about Johann Strauss. So it's not the sort of film you expect to see from Alfred Hitchcock. And a lot of people uh, kind of use that as an excuse to bash it. And I, I can see where people are coming from, why they don't love it. I mean, it doesn't get off to a great start. I think the first couple of scenes, it's a bit like, oh, what am I in for here? The gags all don't quite hit. The timing's a little bit off. Um, but once it kind of got going, I found myself strangely drawn to it. I didn't love it. It's not an amazing film. It's more like a 3.5 out of 5 sort of thing. But I thought it was quite enjoyable, and I think people forget as well that Hitchcock almost always has humor in his films. It's usually very very dark humor, but there's always comedy in there. So I don't think the idea of him doing a comedy is an out and out comedy is kind of is unheard of. Um, and yeah, I think as I say, it's about Johann Strauss. It's about his because there are two Johann Strausses. There's Johann the elder and the younger, and actually there's a brother in there somewhere, but they don't pay much attention to him. But it's basically about how the younger Strauss is his dad kind of his dad doesn't really like him. He's always bad mouthing his attempts at composition. But the film is kind of about how he has a muse in the form of his girlfriend, who is played by somebody, Jessie Matthews, who I thought was quite cute in this film. I think she's one of the reasons she kind of drew me to the. She's got an interesting look and stuff. I kind of liked her in the film. And but there's a bit of a love triangle thing going on as well because basically Strauss the younger, he meets the Countess Helga von Stahl, played by Faye Compton, who she helps him. She helps him kind of. She helps him get started. She kind of believes in him and kind of gives him the kind of financial and kind of financial support and kind of I don't know what the word is. He kind of gets him in there with the kind of gentry around town to be able to perform some of his music so that people can listen to it and he gets the respect he deserves. But obviously there's jealousy there because the Countess seems to have a bit of a thing for young Strauss, and then his girlfriend obviously isn't happy about that, and there's all this kind of stuff going on from there. So yeah, I mean, it's as I say, I just kind of found it kind of fun. It's very lightweight for Hitchcock, and it's definitely not what you'd expect from the director. But I don't know that they use the Strauss's music quite effectively, especially in the end. There's a climactic scene where they kind of play out. I can't remember the name of the song now, but it's his most the Blue Danube, sorry, his most famous song, and that's used very effectively. And as I say, I didn't mind some of the cast are quite amusing and quite fun to watch. So yeah, a lot of people probably don't agree, but as I say, I think it needs a bit more love. It's not that bad.
There's a ringing endorsement. It's not that bad. Listen, I've had this talked about on the show before. I think Howard
Okay.
had it on an episode. I can't remember if it was maybe one of our blind spot alleys or what you've been watching
Mm.
shows, but it came up as a subject of discussion. And it at one point it was apparently hard to find, but I do think it's available on YouTube. So anybody who's interested, although that box set that David is talking about, I'm sure is probably available and has it on there, right?
Well, actually, yeah. Well, weirdly, it's only included as a bonus feature. It's not listed as a main film. I don't know if that's because so many people hate it, but actually, well, I think it's mainly because it was only available in standard definition. So it's on a Blu-ray, but they couldn't get like a HD remaster of it. So it's only in standard definition. But it didn't look that bad, to be fair. The sound quality was quite bad though. It's kind of a little bit muffled. So I think they just didn't have the print to kind of
Well, I'm sure they
justify.
spent all their money on licensing the music.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I say the quality isn't quite strong enough to justify maybe having it as a main feature, perhaps. But yeah, but it is on there. It's a box set from Imprint. It's an Australian label. Yeah, it's Alfred Hitchcock: The Early Years, Volume 2. So
All right,
yeah,
and I allowed you to get that commercial in right there at the end. That's
that's all
great.
right.
Nicole, what subject did you have for your top five list?
Merchandise. I am calling this something old and something new based on whatever was in reach when I ran around trying to gather 5 items for this podcast. And I've been kicking myself lately because I wanted to actually include one of the costume items from my own movie in my top 5 list, but I don't know where it is. And I just, much like Dave, like there's been a lot going on lately, and I didn't want to figure it out. So it was like, okay, what can I grab? What is accessible? And what is something that I didn't talk about? So that's where I'm going. Um, and I'm going in the order of when these inanimate objects were added to my collection of things. So I'm starting with my Nightmare Before Christmas socks because they are probably one of the oldest movie merchandise items that I own. Like, I think I bought these socks from an FYE store that used to be a Tower Record store. That's how old these socks are. And I'm looking for those who plan on watching the YouTube version, you'll be in for a treat because I do have photos of the socks,
Oh, I
which
hope you
I'll
have
share
photos
here.
of you wearing them. That's what I need.
I wish I could do that, but so they came in a pack of 2 different designs when I bought them. And funny enough, I never saw Nightmare Before. I never saw that Tim Burton movie. But I like socks, and sometimes I'm a sucker for movie merchandise. I wasn't even in the store looking for these socks, but they were there, so I bought them. The other pair that I had got holes in them, so they had to go. I don't exactly remember what they look like, but the pair that I still own and wear has a line that the main character sings in the movie on the feet of the socks. And on one foot, like on the left foot, it says somewhere deep inside these bones. And on the right foot, it says an emptiness began to grow. And since I never saw the movie, I don't know what the hell that means, but I like the socks.
How do you know the right sock from the left sock? Do they have toes?
They do. I'm one. No, I just a guess. Just a guess.
Okay. I think it's funny that you've got merchandise for a film that you haven't seen. That's kind of cool. And by the way, you clearly identify as a woman here because you said you got rid of the socks that have a hole in them.
Uh,
Guys would not necessarily do that.
Depends on how worn the heel is.
You wouldn't believe how old some of mine are.
Well, I'm looking forward to looking at the picture of the socks, and I think that's cool that we've got a merchandise list that's coming up here. That's going to be fun. Jeffrey, I know that you've got all kinds of exciting merchandise that you could talk about, but is that what you picked, or have you got something else to talk about?
So no, my list is inspired from watching War Machine, and I recently did a binge on Reacher, and after the protest of my cousin that I had not been watching what he termed one of the best action shows around, I was like, oh wow, I really did enjoy it. So my list is my top 5 modern stars, and it's also kind of inspired by Chuck Norris's passing, where it's like, where have all the great action heroes gone? So this is a look at the new breed, so to speak, and the ones continuing to hold the torch for our 80s, 90s macho men. So my first one, since I mentioned Reacher and War Machine, is Alan Rickson. And obviously, like I butcher his last name, but the dude looks like a walking tank, but he's got a real charisma to him, and I feel like he just needs one big blockbuster movie where we're going to see him in front of everything. I'm trying to convince anyone who will listen that he's the one Paramount should try to desperately recruit to have him be the lead in the G.I. Joe movie and have him be cast as Duke. Now, they can't have a bunch of 5'7" Tom Cruise actors around him, but if they were, he would make for a great Duke and leading the GI Joes and with a hearty Yo Joe. So he is my first choice on that, just because I think he's got a little bit of vulnerability to him, but he definitely looks like he was sculpted in an action figure toy lab.
Yes, I have seen Reacher, and you are absolutely correct. He was built for that role. It was like
Yeah,
he was assembled from spare parts that they had up a tank.
right.
He's a big dude.
Absolutely.
He was also before Reacher, before everyone really knew who he was. I saw him in an action comedy slash sci-fi movie called Dark Web,
Yeah,
which he co-wrote. And if you ever get a chance, it's really funny, and he's great in that movie.
he has a surprising sense of humor too. He was on one of those football shows. I didn't watch it. I've just been seeing clips now. And he also apparently auditioned on American Idol. And Paula lost her mind. And Simon and jeez, Simon and
Randy.
Randy, thank you, stepped away behind the curtain so she could get privately serenaded. And he's not the best singer, but he's done some stuff. He was also in Titans, that HBO streaming only show, and he played Hawk from Hawk and Dove, and he was one of the best parts of the show. So I was like, oh, so he's definitely one. I think if he gets enough high profile pieces, he could be doing this to the point where we're going, man, he's still running at 60 years old. Like we're amazed that Tom Cruise does all the time now.
Yeah, I'm all for those older action stars, but he's still in the prime right now.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you said that because I was just about to comment that he was born the same year as me. I was thinking I haven't quite matched his physique.
You're bigger, right?
Oh yeah, much bigger. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to hearing about some of the other people that you think are modern action stars. That'll be cool. Dave, you're next. So what have you got for your list?
Okay, my list is also geared towards action movies, specifically Gerard Butler action movies. Uh, I think he performs a valuable public service, kind of filling the role that Charles Bronson used to in the 70s. You know, movies that were never masterpieces, but at least you knew what you were going to get. And same with Liam Neeson when he started, making Taken over and over again. But with Bronson gone and uh, Neeson becoming less convincing as an action hero, to me, Gerard Butler kind of fills that void. Uh, his resume consists of a lot of mid-range thrillers that seldom challenge the intellect or rule the box office, and a lot of them play better in my living room than they do on the screen. But more often than not, I find them entertaining because they deliver exactly as promised. I even enjoyed Geostorm more than I should have, but I promise that one didn't make my list. Um, so he's not going to ever win an Oscar or anything like that, but he has a determination and a grimness and an earnestness that I find perfect for his roles. And I know he's done a lot more movies than just action films, but I'm just going to focus on those because they're they're kind of like go-to comfort movies for me. And the first one is from 2023, and it's called Plane. In this one, he plays an airline pilot forced to make an emergency landing on a remote Philippine island after his plane is struck by lightning. And also on board is this captured fugitive. But this island is also home to a bunch of vicious rebels. And though they're distrustful of each other, uh, Brody, that's the pilot played by Butler, and this fugitive venture through the jungle, and they find this compound hoping to contact authorities. But while they're away, the rebels capture all the airline passengers and hold them for ransom. And there's no law enforcement coming, so it's up to Brody and the fugitive to spring the hostages before any more of them are killed. There's not a lot of surprises in this movie, but there's a lot of violent, well-executed action. And of course, Gerard is his usual dependable self. I think he's an engaging action hero here who'll throw down if he's forced to, but he's not so invulnerable that he ceases to be credible. But it's his partner, the fugitive, Lewis. And by the way, he's played by Mike Coulter. who does most of the dirty work. He's the one who does most of the killings, and he's well played by Coulter, and he's a really neat character. Who wouldn't be he wouldn't be such a bad anti-hero in a film of his own. But I found this film a lot of fun.
I saw that film when it came out. It was one of the things that was most surprising that year. I can't remember if I actually put it on my top 10 list, but I know that I enjoyed the hell out of it, as I usually do these Gerard Butler movies. I suspect that I'm going to have seen every one of the movies that you mentioned because I've
Probably.
seen quite a few of Gerard Butler's films. Uh, Heck, last year I even went to see a movie party of Phantom of the Opera, and he can sing too.
That's what my sister or my daughter said. That's what she knows him from.
There you are.
I
No,
Something
haven't
new,
seen
something
it.
fresh.
I'm absolutely with you. He is a ton of fun, and I enjoy playing a lot too. And he's one where I think he's content, not trying to win an Oscar, win an Emmy, or be an EGOT winner in any capacity, but he just does his job, and his movies are almost always really fun.
Dave didn't step into your lane, did he, Jeffrey?
Fortunately, no. He probably would have been number 6 if I thought this through a little bit better. Because that worked out well.
All right, good timing. Yeah, and you mentioned the comparison to Charles Bronson. I came this close to doing exactly the same thing with the Charles Bronson films because, like you said, he was never going to win any awards for acting. He was a solid star who did a particular genre of movie very well and consistently, and you knew what you were getting when you went into those films. And I think you're right. Gerard Butler is probably a good legacy example of that kind of action film and star. So I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of your list as well. Well, my list consists of movies that I have a lot of subparts to them. Basically, I decided to choose anthology films for a couple of reasons. First of all, on I think that it might have been the last Roll Your Own, the film Quiet came up, and it's been recommended to me several times in the past, and I never watched it. And it came up, and I thought, well, I should probably catch up with it finally, and I did. So I'm going to have it on my list here down a ways. It's not going to be the first one I'm going to talk about, but it's an anthology, and I decided they're horror films, so let's just stick with horror films. The other thing that kind of forced me, I won't say forced me, but led me down this path. I was in California not too long ago visiting my family, and I spent some time with a friend of mine at a used record store, and they had a stack of laser discs for sale. So I went through the stack, of course, because I always do that whenever there's some laser disc for sale, see if there's something I don't have that I'd like to add to my collection. And there was Twilight Zone, the movie. And I said, oh, great, I'll love having that. That'll be fun. And then when I put it in, it wasn't Twilight Zone, the movie in the sleeve. It was This is Spinal Tap. And I'm going, wait a second. So I feel obligated to catch up with Twilight Zone the movie, and so that's going to be the first one I'm going to talk about here. Twilight Zone the movie is obviously inspired by the original Twilight Zone series, and it came out in 1983, and it has a very dark history because of the death of Vic Morrow and two child actors while making the film. And there was a subsequent trial for negligent homicide that included the special effects supervisor, the stunt coordinator, and John Landis, the director. All of them were found not guilty of the crimes that they were charged with, but it has lingered over the movie for a long time. And I think that it also kind of forced them to alter the first episode of the film. But the Twilight Zone movie has like a lot of these anthology films, has a bridging story involving Dan Aykroyd and Albert Brooks driving along in the dark, telling stories to each other. And that's kind of how we get going with these different stories that come up. And the first one is the one featuring Vic Morrow, and it's a morality tale. They had to change the way it worked out and the resolution because of the death of the actor, and they cut out the two child actors entirely so that that was not a part of what was going on. It's still a pretty effective sequence. It's an anti-racism kind of morality tale, very much the kind of thing that Rod Serling would have done in the original Twilight Zone. Then we got a remake from Steven Spielberg. All the episodes, by the way, were directed by different directors. So John Landis did that first episode. Spielberg did the second episode, which is a remake of a show of one of the original Twilight Zone shows, Kick the Can with Scatman Crothers, and it feels a little out of place because it is really not a horror story so much as a fantasy story, but it's nice and heartwarming, and you can immediately tell that Spielberg directed the segment. I mean, the way it's shot, the way it looks, the music that is playing in the sequence is it's basically a short version of a Spielberg movie. A lot of warmth to it. Then It's a Good Life, which is a remake of one of my favorite original Twilight Zone stories, which was very frightening and disturbing in the 1960s. Here it's remade as kind of a comic horror film by Joe Dante. And it's it's a lot of fun. It's full of the archaic maniacal Joe Dante moments. We've got eye bulbs bulging and characters turning into strange creatures and wild elements. It's like a cartoon come to life, and it's a lot of fun. And then, of course, the Capper story is directed by George Miller after he did Road Warrior, and I think this is right before he did Thunderdome, Beyond Thunderdome. And it's Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. It's also a remake of the original Twilight Zone stories, and it's a very faithful remake with a terrific performance from John Lithgow, who goes effectively crazy on screen. And he's got those bulging eyes. I think he was just in prep for Buckaroo Banzai when he was doing this.
For me, Miller and Dante saved the movie. To me, it's interesting that the two lesser-known directors at the time totally outclassed Spielberg and Landis for that one. Landis, in particular, I thought his segment was terrible, and I think the same way about the book ending story. It feels like it was improvised and not too well. But those last two stories are just terrific. I especially liked Dante's version of It's a Wonderful Life. I'm not A Wonderful Life. It's a Good Life.
It's a Good
To
Life,
me, that
yes.
seems like him gearing up for Gremlins.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think that's a good way to look at it. Everybody was getting ready to do something better, which is all fine. Well, David, we're back around to you. We're looking for a new Alfred Hitchcock film that's really old.
I was saying, well, this one's really old. I'm going to go way back now. This one wasn't actually in the box set, but I needed to sub one out because one of the films in the box set, Lady Vanishes, I kind of thought, well, it's quite well loved. I thought I'll pass that over, even though I do think it's fantastic. But I'm going to go way back to not quite Hitchcock's first film, but it's the film that he considered his first film because the couple that he did beforehand, he wasn't happy with them. He didn't feel like he had full control over them. So I'm going to talk about The Lodger. So yeah, this is Hitchcock's in his silent era before he went all talky, and it tells the story of a series of grisly murders that have been plaguing London, very similar to kind of Jack the Ripper. And yeah, every Tuesday another body's found, and it always has the calling card of the Avenger on there. All the victims are fair-haired, so yeah, you've got your Hitchcock blondes in there, and basically there's the young and beautiful Daisy, who is played by oh, I've just got June here. I don't know what her full name is. Anyway, first for a safety, yeah, and because she's blonde, and she's got a boyfriend called Joe, who's a dashing police detective who's assigned to the case to try and put her mind at ease. But during this time, a mysterious lodger played by Ivor Novello ends up living in Daisy's parents' house. And as the film goes on, you keep finding more links between the killer and this lodger. So Daisy's mother suspects that he might be the killer, and then Daisy falls in love with this dashing stranger, and so the mother gets even more worried in it, and it kind of goes on from there. And yeah, this as I say, Hitchcock saw this as his first film, and it really does feel like, even at this very, very early stage. I mean, this is 1927. It really feels like a Hitchcock film. Uh, you've got tension, you've got a blonde and murders and things like that. You've also got a bit of humor in there, although it's dark. There is a bit of a light handling of this dark subject matter, which again I think plays into a lot of his other films. It's very well paced as well. There's not really a wasted minute. It's only like I think it's 88 minutes or something like that, and it just breezes by. 'Cause a lot of people talk about Hitchcock's handling of suspense and kind of the way he used filmmaking techniques and things like that, and that is obviously one of the reasons he's a great director. But I also think he makes films that are just fun to watch, even if they're quite dark. I don't think I've ever seen a boring Hitchcock film, or at least there's very few of them. So yeah, this sees him kind of launching off good and proper, and it still stands up now. I enjoy it quite a lot. Yeah.
Well, speaking of old, this is a movie that I saw before I got old. I mean, I think I saw this 40, 45 years ago, uh, back when I was young enough to think I'm going to someday watch all the Hitchcock films. And I think this came up on one of it wasn't even a cable station. We had subscription over the air films channels back in the early 80s. And I
Mm.
think this was on there. And I think that's where I watched it. But it's been, like I said, literally 40, 45 years since I've seen it. But I remember thinking it was quite good, but I don't remember it very much now, I'm
No, no.
afraid.
Well, I must admit, I've not seen it for. I'm using my old reviews to kind of get the notes. I've not seen it for a little while, actually. What was that? 2012, yeah. So not since 2012, but I do remember enjoying it. I also remember as well, actually, the version I watched had they'd got a new score done for it by Nitin Sawhney. Who's like a British producer and composer, and I really loved the score. I ended up actually buying it on CD because I enjoyed it so much, and that's worth a mention. I think it was recorded at that time, so like 2012 or
There's
somewhere around
something to
there.
recommend a rewatch. Excellent.
Hmm.
Nicole, we got something new or something old here?
We have something old, so I think it's fitting that I'm coming behind the the Hitchcock selection, or shall I say something old and new. Um, the next items on my list are a soda and a nail polish. Stay with me for a second. So, I have an Olipop limited edition Barbie peaches and cream soda. I bought like a few of them, but I've consumed them since then, and I have like two left. I bought them around the time that the Barbie movie was out, and then I found out later that it's not related to the Barbie movie at all. For somehow it came out. So it came out I think in like 2024 as a limited edition flavor. And because the Barbie movie was out, I saw it in the store while I was shopping, and I like Barbie, so I bought it. And then only later I found out that it was released as part of the anniversary of the Peaches and Cream Barbie, which I'm not familiar with. So this item is old in that it may have expired. I don't know, but it's new in that it's unopened, so I never drank it. But I don't know if it fits for this list, which is why I also thought about a nail polish that I own that I have mentioned in probably one or more podcasts that I know is tied to a movie, which is a pink nail polish called Sparrow Me the Drama, and it is part of the nail brand's Pirates of the Caribbean collection,
Hmm.
particularly the On Stranger Tides movie that came out. And I wish I had all of the colors. I bought this in New York. It was an impulse purchase. I think I was in Sephora, and they had the collection on display. And since I never planned to buy this, I just grabbed one. I'm like, I'll just get the pink one, whatever. And I kept it moving. And now I wish I bought more of the colors because it's hard to get now. Although there are people selling them on eBay. However, some of those listings say like pre-owned and like who wants a pre-owned nail
Nail
polish?
polish. Yeah.
But the display, I did find a picture of the actual display that I think Sephora had on the counter when I bought this pink nail polish in New York. So that is definitely something old that is directly tied to the movie in that the marketing for this nail polish uses the logos and different creative elements that they used for the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So that is unlike the holy Nightmare Before Christmas socks that had to go. I still have this nail polish, even though it would probably not be safe for me to use it. I haven't used it in a few years, but also haven't thrown it away either. And so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
I'm sure it's a good thing as long as you don't use it. And don't drink the soda either.
oh, I kind of and I want to. I so want to because it goes well with vodka. That was another thing that I found out back when I did have a few other cans and I did and I was drinking it. Um And this is also an item that I have where I still haven't seen, as much as I like Barbies, I still haven't seen the Barbie movie, much like I haven't seen the Nightmare Before Christmas movie. But I found out I like the flavor on its own, but I also tried it with alcohol, so it can make a good cocktail if you're into that sort of thing. I would not recommend mixing this with tequila, but if you like vodka, I think that this might do you well as a good mixer for vodka. And Olipop also did come out, although the Peaches and Cream Barbie edition was limited. Olipop did release a Peaches and Cream flavor as like a regular item that's going to be in their lineup for now due to the popularity of, I guess, that peaches and cream flavor. So Olipop does just sell regular peaches and cream prebiotic soda. I have yet to try that, but I did buy a can recently though, like within the last 2 weeks. So it's fresh. So I'm going to try
If you get a
that.
Barbie sticker and put it on the can, it'll be fine.
I like that idea.
Well, we're going to designate you the official lamb bartender for the future episodes because you've got good advice for people as to how to mix their collectible drinks with the appropriate spirit.
I'm here for it.
Jeffrey, who do you have next on your list of modern action stars?
Okay, so Nicole, I have this can of Buzz Cola from the Simpsons movie.
Ooh.
Hey.
It's starting to, I guess, disintegrate because the can is losing its firmness, but I guess something kind of leaked out somewhere, but I'm absolutely never going to crack it open. Pure flat and be toxic. Anyway, so next up on my list is I'm gonna go with Chris Hemsworth. And he's always fun. I appreciate that he tries to mix up his roles, but I feel like the action movies are his strength. And, of course, from his roles as Thor in the MCU, and I feel like we still haven't gotten a better version of Thor on the big screen than his take in Infinity War, where it's like, yes, now he's actually doing all the stuff he should be doing. And I was like, all right, he was cool in that 3 minutes of Star Trek, and that was really fun. But I think what really pushed me over, like, this guy can do it. And I know you're thinking I'm going to say, oh, what was that? Red Dawn? What's that the one where they did that terrible remake? Of course,
No, not Red Dawn.
It wasn't Red Dawn. What was it? Where it was a bunch of teenagers who were trying to stop the Russians from coming into their town.
That's Red Dawn.
Yeah, it was
That's Red Dawn.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Only I think in the Red Dawn remake they made them North Koreans.
Yeah, it was bad regardless. It was not
Yes.
But it was Extraction. The first one was like, oh wow, he can really,
Extraction, yeah.
yeah. And the first one was great, and then the second one was just even better with that prison escape. And I was like, whoa, okay, so he can actually do this. And so now it's like, okay, you're gonna do a drama. That's great. And I was excited about Crime 101. I really liked it. I wouldn't have minded a few more Heat style shootouts, but I think he can write his book as an action star for as long as he wants to keep doing it. And I'm anxiously awaiting Extraction 3.
I liked the Extraction movies. The Extraction 2, that's got that one long unbroken scene that
Yes,
just
yes,
just
yes.
phenomenal. And I also thought the Michael Mann movie he did, Black Hat, was underrated.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Yeah,
He's
I'm on
good.
board with your opinion.
He's
Thank
good.
you.
He's good in Furiosa as well. I enjoyed him in Furiosa.
He was great in
Yes.
Furiosa.
Yeah, he
Mm,
He was
was
the
my
best part
favorite.
of Furiosa.
Exactly.
mm.
Well, clearly, we need to have a Chris Hemsworth film festival weekend where we catch
Hey.
up on all these things.
Yeah.
I saw Extraction. We talked about it on the Lambcast when the first one came out. I have not seen the second one. I've heard great things about it. I feel bad about that. I missed Crime 101. It was not in theaters very long, and
No, it was not.
it disappeared much too fast. I'll probably catch up with it eventually, but my priority is always to see things in a theater, so it'll probably take me a while to get to that. Uh, I'm, I'm with you. This is, I think he's a worthy addition to your list of modern action stars. And like your previous selection, he's built for
Exactly.
this kind of stuff.
This isn't going to be the trend throughout, but just the first two, and I highly recommend Extraction 2. Like that is a real action movie experience, and that opening act is something one of the few that I've watched so many movies or whatever, but it's like that one I felt like, whoa, they really put a lot of effort into this, and it's not just CGI. So definitely recommend that one.
Good deal. I think the original one we had on is was that during COVID? Because it was one of those films that I thought, why are we talking about this? This is a TV movie, but obviously it was quite worthy and
It
everybody
was
was excited about talking about it.
the first one was 2020, so yeah, right
Yeah,
in the
that's what it was. Yeah, that's why we had it on. And that was back when Jay was still in charge and he was picking the movies.
Mm.
So that worked out fine. Dave Anderson, Gerard Butler's made a lot of these things. So which one is next?
Well, he had a pretty good 2023, and my next movie is from the same year as Plane, and that is Kandahar. Um, and like Plane, there's nothing about it that's going to knock anyone's socks off, but it's a solidly entertaining movie with plenty of guns and explosions and chases, and Butler being his usual solid self. And he's an ex MI6 agent working freelance, and he's hired to sabotage an Iranian nuclear power plant. And after getting away, his handler offers another job deep in Afghanistan, and he's aided by Mohammed Dow, who's called Mo, and it's played by Naveed Negaban. If I could be butchering that, because he knows the area and speaks the language. Uh, but meanwhile, the Iranian government realizes Tom was responsible for the nuclear power plant explosion. So there's a massive manhunt, and the Taliban have no interest in executing Tom. They want to grab him and sell him to the highest bidder, since he's apparently wanted by a lot of terrorists. Um, and the rest of the movie is this big 400-mile chase across the desert. For the most part, it's an exciting chase. There's a lot of great action sequences. Uh, I don't know how plausible it is, but it's entertaining in the moment. And some comparisons could be made between this one and The Covenant, which was released earlier that same year. And The Covenant is a better film overall, and one I wish I would have seen in theaters. Uh, but even though Kandahar isn't in the same league, it's still an excellent action movie in its own right.
I think I missed it because I did see The Covenant and was so impressed with it. Covenant was my favorite film of that year,
I think it
and
was my ninth favorite.
I liked it quite well. And I think Kandahar just kind of got overshadowed by it, and I never caught up with it.
That's a lot of Butler's filmography.
Well, we got those. Well, I don't want to step on anybody's toes here, so I'll wait and let you pick out the other ones that you're going to be talking about next. Yeah, very consistent on films that seem a little derivative. There's one I hope that you mentioned that I'm going to hold off on because I'm excited about
I'll try not to disappoint you.
it. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, if we're talking about horror anthology movies, the 80s were the apex period of time for classic anthology films. I know there are a ton of them that have come out recently that use the VHS format. I like that. I've seen one of those. I enjoyed it quite well. But we had a ton of these kinds of movies back in the 80s. And the next one I'm going to talk about is one that's based on, uh, well, it's not based on there was a TV series that was based on it. And then there's another one that was based on the TV series. So they kind of cross-pollinate a little bit here. But this is Creepshow from 1982. It's a combination of Stephen King and George Romero stories that have been turned into short segments, some of which are kind of goofy, some of which are really dark and full of the special effects that the 80s were known for, and some of them are just like they say, creepy. Uh, there's actually an appearance as Stephen King as an actor in Creepshow, and there's a good reason that he's not an actor because he is not good in this. The story is appropriately a little goofy, so his character's supposed to be kind of a dim-witted boob, and I think that's his range as an actor. But the story was fun, and that's the title of it, "The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill," is silly. Something to Tide You Over is a revenge story featuring Ted Danson and Leslie Nielsen. Uh, the Crate is the one that has what I think is the best visual effects. Fritz Weaver, and I'm trying to remember who the other actor is that's in it. I'm not remembering
Hal
off the
Holbrook.
There you go, Hal Holbrook. And Adrienne Barbeau is the wife that he wants to get rid of and finds a creative way of doing so. And they've got a nice, creepy story to go along with it. And then, of course, if you are a germaphobe, you do not want to sit through the last segment of Creepshow because it'll bug you.
Oh man.
They played
Such a
that movie.
such a fun movie.
They played that at summer camp one year, and I will never forget it because my brother's like, I can't believe I should watch Creepshow during summer camp. But we were way too young to be watching that, but it was fun. They had the big TV cart and just played it, and we were sitting there like, whoa. So yes, I know exactly the horror and dread that you're talking about.
Well, you never want to think about what's crawling around under the floor.
Right.
And this one will make your skin crawl, I'm
Oh,
sure.
jeez. Now, see, as someone who washes her hands too many times during the day, I wonder if I could still watch it before the section that you're talking about and like turn it off, or if it will help to watch it in the company of others,
Well,
maybe.
sit there
But
with some Curacao and
okay.
and some Raid. Keep it handy. 'Cause it's a little tough. I don't know. Like I said, some people are iffy about the creature features that feature bugs. If you've got
Or
arachnophobia, don't watch arachnophobia.
now I do like arachnophobia though, and I talk to spiders before I kill them. Like I like spiders because they kill other bugs, so I try if I see a spider, which is very rare, I don't want to kill it. Like one morning I had to go to work. I remember and there was one in my shower and I'm like talking to it, trying to negotiate. Like,
Yeah.
listen, like this is
Could
not
you
the
just go away?
time. And it didn't move quick enough because I'm not going to be late for work. So I had to kill it. But then I was like apologizing to it too.
Yeah.
Anyhow, though, I do like arachnophobia.
Well,
So
I
I
tell you
will.
what, the spiders are not the problem here, and
Okay.
it's a cleanliness issue that you will definitely feel a little bit
Iffy about.
uncomfortable with.
Okay.
I don't know if your list is ranked.
No,
Um,
it isn't.
oh, if I were doing the list, Creepshow would be ranked number one. I mean, as far as anthology film goes, that one, as far as it's the most consistent. There isn't really a clinker story in the whole bunch. And I was a Stephen King fanatic when that came out, so I was really looking forward to it, and I was expecting it to be terrifying, and it wasn't, but it was sure funny on purpose.
Yes.
And the scenery chewing that E.G. Marshall, Leslie Nielsen, and Adrienne Barbeau do, that those three alone are worth the price of admission for that film.
There you go. So pay your price of admission, rent the movie, and catch up with Creepshow. David Brook, it's time for us to catch up with another Hitchcock.
Yes. Well, this is the one that kind of spoiled my list when I realized it was it's actually American. In my favor, and although it's got an American star, he does travel to Europe and spend all his time in Europe in the film. But anyway, so yeah, this is Foreign Correspondent, as this was 1940, so I'm jumping to the kind of the end of his early sort of first half of his career, I guess. And it stars Joel McCrea, he's an American crime reporter, and he's sent to Europe to try and figure out what's going on with the kind of brewing war. And whilst he's there, he witnesses the assassination of a Dutch diplomat. Um, and but then later he finds the diplomat alive, and it kind of draws him into this kind of web of intrigue and espionage and all this kind of thing, and it goes on from there. And obviously, there's a bit of a love story involved in there. He's traveling around with Lorraine Day, who is her father's kind of quite a respected figure in the world politics, who's supposedly trying to kind of stop the war before it begins. And yeah, but anyway, it goes on from there. And yeah, this one is a whole heap of fun. It's got some really strong set pieces. As I say, some of the assassination attempt is really well done. There's a great use of kind of umbrellas that I think what's his name stole it. Brian De Palma, who's a massive Hitchcock fan, he kind of borrows that for one of his films. I forget which one. And yeah, there's a plane crash near the end as well, which for 1940 is really impressively done, very tense. And it just kind of sails away. It's a lot of fun. It's got some nice kind of wisecracks in there. There's a bit of banter between the two leads, and yeah, it's great fun. The only thing I'd maybe complain, it's a touch over long, although it's quite fast paced. Kind of like two thirds the way through, I thought, oh, this is fantastic. This doesn't get nearly enough love. But I don't know, maybe I was tired. But by the end, I was a little bit like, come on, you can tie this up now. and, but otherwise, it's spot on. Really, I enjoyed it a great deal, and I don't think it gets enough respect, really. Yeah.
Well, I have seen Foreign Correspondent, but it's been a while, and I've enjoyed Joel McCrea movies on occasion. I not can't say I was really a big fan, but
Mm.
the Foreign Correspondent and Sullivan's Travels,
Mm.
and I know there's another one that's in my head somewhere.
I can't
So
remember. I've forgotten. Oh, the other thing I didn't mention actually as well. It's shot by Rudolph Mattei, who's quite a famous cinematographer of the era, and the photography is amazing. There's some really nice use of kind of light and shade, especially there's a scene in a windmill that looks gorgeous. But yeah, I had to throw that in there as well.
terrific, terrific. All right, Nicole, you've drank your soda, you've put on your nail polish. Now, what are we going to be dealing with?
In other movies that I have merchandise for but never saw, we have Wicked Purses. So in 2024, I bought two bags from from a holiday store, um, and they were for each of the two main characters in the Wicked movie. So one is a pink crossbody purse. Well, it's a handbag and or purse depending on how you want to wear it. It has a strap that you can detach and carry as a handbag, or you can attach it and just, carry it over your shoulder. So they're both semi new, but I would say the green backpack That's based on Elphaba's character, is newer than the pink purse based on Galinda's character, because I've worn the pink purse many times, but I've never used the green backpack. And every single time I take the pink purse out, I get compliments by both the children and adults, including some who want to take them. There was a woman last year at an event, like a conference that I went to, who walked up to me, looked at the purse, and said, "You don't want this, do you?" And started laughing. I said, "Yeah, yeah, I do." Anyhow, um, I like these purchases, even though I never used the green one. The pink one has been useful. I would have added a picture here of the inside of the that purse, but I have items in there that I didn't feel like taking out. But the green bag, the Elphaba bag, actually has more compartments than the Galinda bag
Do you know if
inside.
these were for the part one or part two, or did it matter?
It was for the part one.
Okay.
And I have an item from the part two for your exit question, actually, which is a whole heavy thing. But um yeah, this was for the oh wait, part one. It was for the Wicked movie that came out in 2024.
Yeah, that would be part one.
Yeah. Because I haven't seen them,
I, I, I
I forget which one is part one and part two, and I didn't know if the part two was split up like Harry Potter's last like was it the Deathly Hollows or
the Deathly
something,
Hallows.
where
Yeah.
they split it in like two different parts or whatever. Anyhow, yeah.
Yeah, when it came out, I saw the first one and I had no idea that there was going to be a part two until the week the first one came out. I went, wait, I'm going to spend 2.5 hours watching this movie and then there's a part two? I wasn't
I
sure I was up for that.
I
And as
generally
it turns,
hate it when they do that.
you
Yeah.
know,
I do
there
too.
are times when it seems like it's necessary, but I was iffy in the first place, and so
And
I
it's based on a play that it just one play, so it just seemed odd
yeah.
to send it.
How did you do that? Yes. How did you turn a 2.5 hour play into 5 hours worth of movie? Somewhere there's some padding, I'm going, and I don't know that I want to sit through all that padding. But I do know that I want to sit through some action star film, and Jeffrey's got a new action star for us to talk about. So who's next, Jeffrey?
All right, so next up, I'm going to go with the king of Atlantis, Jason Momoa. I feel like he is another one like Chris Hemsworth, where he doesn't want to be typecast. He's just an action guy, even though he's normally at his best when he's being the action star. Conan didn't take off for him, but he does have like a whole rack of films there where he's showing off that charisma, whether he's being Aquaman or he's just being the flamboyant, crazy Dante in Fast X. And then what's this movie that he was doing with? Oh, of course, Dune. He did that Sweet Girl, which I don't want to ruin anything for anybody who hadn't seen it. He was the best part of that movie. But I just like his whole I'm coming through, I'm breaking up a bunch of stuff. He's the main reason I want to see the Wrecking Crew. And I think he's going to be a lot of fun playing Lobo in the Supergirl film. So he's just one that I like because I think he kind of gets it, where he's not a walking tank all the time, and he just kind of gives you a little hair flip and hey, I'm cool and I'm going to do this thing.
He would be the reason that I see any movie. He's much like Gerard Butler, but unlike Gerard Butler, I like Gerard Butler's films, although I haven't seen any that were mentioned here, so now I have something to watch this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I like much like, what was already said, Gerard Butler gives us consistency, and I
Mm-hmm.
like that. Now, when it comes to this Jason
Yeah.
Momoa, all I have to say is yum. That's it.
I'll add as well, as terrible as the Minecraft movie was, my kids dragged me to watch it, and Jason Momoa is the best thing in that film. He makes
Yeah,
it watchable. He's got, as you say, he's got a lot of charisma as well as the kind of tough guy action movie kind of physique. Is yeah, he's a charming man.
yeah,
He's also got a good sense of who he is and what
Yeah.
the characters are that he plays. And I'm going to recommend a movie that probably nobody realizes that he's in, but you should see The Fall Guy because
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
he has a moment in The Fall Guy that is perfect, and it illustrates exactly what Jeffrey's talking about here.
Yeah, he gets it and feels like he's in on whatever joke action heroes need to play that role convincingly. Where it's like, oh, he's not taking himself too seriously with it, and I think he's really dead on with that. So he makes his movies a lot of fun.
Now, Gerard Butler is a little bit more serious and does take it seriously because there are some dark action films that he's been in. I'm wondering if Dave's got any of those on his list.
Uh, I think so. Um, my next one is Law Abiding Citizen, uh, which is still the best revenge fantasy movie I've ever seen. Um, but I don't think it was actually meant to be a revenge fantasy. For me, the movie's rousing for reasons I don't think its filmmakers intended to be. Uh, he plays a guy named Clyde Shelton, and in the first scene, his family is murdered during a home invasion, and the perps are eventually caught. But the one who did all the raping and killing cuts a deal with the district attorney, Nick Rice, who's played by Jamie Foxx, for a commuted sentence. Um, and right from the get-go, Rice comes across as an ambitious, cocky lawyer who's more concerned about his conviction percentage than true justice. Um, and he's well played by Fox, but he's supremely unlikable, even though he's technically the protagonist. The movie fast forward 10 years, and Sheldon begins knocking off everyone associated with the case in a variety of creative and outlandish ways, occasionally similar to what you'd see in a Saw movie. Um, but he eventually surrenders to authorities, but the slaughter still continues. And Rice and the police try their best to thwart him, but Shelton is continually one step ahead of him. And it turns out he's a former government assassin, uh, with the usual list of lethal skills. And there's a revelation late in the film, which borders on ridiculous, that explains how Shelton is able to kill all these folks while in prison. But we're not supposed to get hung up on lapses in logic in this film, and for the most part, I didn't. Uh, because of the brutal opening scene where his family is killed, Shelton had all my sympathy, and so when the movie does an about face and tries really hard to establish him as a villain, like a super intelligent cross between Hannibal Lecter and Jigsaw, uh, I couldn't really I couldn't really get on board with him as a villain. It was just too late. I'd already chosen sides. Um, so I just didn't see I couldn't bring myself to see Sheldon as the bad guy at all. And maybe that's the way I'm wired. Sheldon getting even is oddly cathartic in the same way that Paul Kersey shooting muggers in Death Wish was. And maybe more so because Sheldon knows exactly who deserves the justice he's serving. The ending is a little bit unsatisfying, but until then, Shelton's killing spree is pretty entertaining. And it's got great pacing and direction by F. Gary Gray, who I think has a great resume of action films. And, he also directed my favorite music bio ever in Straight Outta Compton. But, you don't hear his name mentioned with a lot of great action directors. I think he's a little bit underappreciated. But um, Butler is terrific in this, and Fox is really good in this, even though he's playing a character who's just oddly cold. Uh, but it's a terrific film. I watch this one a lot.
It's actually a revenge film that I haven't seen, which is hard to believe because those are my favorite kinds of films. And it
What?
sounds like it's right up my alley.
Oh
Uh,
my God.
how have I missed it?
Richard. Please watch. I will watch the whole Creepers in its entirety if you watch Law and Abiding Citizen. That is one of my, if not the favorite Gerard Butler movie that I've seen so far. It was made in my town, so
Oh,
the
that's right,
production,
Philadelphia.
yes. So, the area was very busy around the time, and it provided a lot of, some good jobs and a nice economic boost for workers in the film industry and adjacent businesses, restaurants, etc. When I so clearly I saw this movie in the theater when it came out, and I was so excited to see it. I loved Shelton's storyline, and I did forgive some of the some of the issues that were mentioned because of the nature of the narrative. Like I like movies where someone gets like, I guess, divine justice in a way. Like it's always been like an unforgettable movie. I could watch it anytime, multiple times, and never tire of it. And it talking about it right now puts me back in the theater when our mayor at the time, Michael Nutter, had a cameo in the movie. I wasn't expecting that because I don't remember that being part of the marketing of this movie. And I imagine a lot of other people in the theater, or at least the showing that I was in, didn't expect it either because when he made his cameo and he appeared on screen, there were a lot of loud outbursts at the screen, not in a good way. I was not a fan of Mayor Nutter. And based on the other outbursts, other people weren't either. Like, we did not want to see him at all. Like, it was just like, oh my, expletives, all sorts of things happening at the screen. Although I will say it's one of my better memories, even though people were not, they were angry at him. um it's a good memory from like a theatrical viewing of a movie, like everyone's on the same accord, the same way. Something happens in a horror movie and we all like freeze at the same time, or something funny happens in a comedy and people are laughing at the same time. Everyone was on the same accord in that moment. Like, we don't like Nutter. He needs to go away. Anyhow, yes, Richard, I
Well, I
think you
will.
would like it. I think you
Okay.
would
I will
like
be
Law
I will be
Abiding.
watching for the mayor's appearance in this. I have not avoided the movie. I've just not encountered it. It's not one of those things that I said I don't want to see this. It's just one of those things that never came across my attention span at a moment when it was convenient for me to watch it. But having been
I,
encouraged here, I will definitely be looking at it
I
probably
was
this
just
week.
I was just going to quickly add that little story reminded me of when he watched V for Vendetta at the cinema when it came out, and at the end they blow up the Houses of Parliament, and everyone in the cinema cheered in the UK. So it's like it's quite a similar kind of situation.
All right. Well, I'm still stuck in the 80s for my anthology films, and this one might actually be referred to as Creepshow 3. They did a Creepshow 2 that both King and Romero had some connection with, and then they did a Creepshow 3 that neither of them had any connection with, but Tales from the Dark Side is one that George Romero was connected with, and it is my next film, anthology horror film. It's got three different stories, and there's as usual, like a bridge story to kind of keep things going. Um, the three stories, Lot 249 is basically a mummy story. The Cat from Hell may have the most disgusting moment on film that you will ever see that doesn't involve uh, viscera coming, but it's an image that will haunt you for a long time. And of course, the Free Kittens site should feature it as a image on their website. I can't imagine that you haven't got it somewhere. And
I
then
actually haven't.
Lovers Vow is a segment that is very interesting because it is basically a variation of a story in one of the other films I'm going to be talking about in just a minute. It's an interesting love story featuring gargoyles, of all things. And the cast in this film is really interesting because in the first segment, you've got Steve Buscemi, Julianne Moore, and Christian Slater as the main actors, and they were all very early in their careers here, and it's nice to see them. Cat from Hell features William Hickey and David Johansen from the New York Dolls, who made several movies, and he's pretty good in this particular film, and it's interesting to catch up with people that you know from other things showing up in something that's not really expected here. And Deborah Harry from Blondie is in featured in the wraparound story. It's kind of a fun little bit. I think it's very entertaining. It stands up next to Creepshow, I think, pretty effectively. I never saw Creepshow 2 or 3, but I did catch up with this one. And this is the one that was inspired by the television series. So there was a television series, Tales from the Dark Side, and then they made the movie. Whereas with Creepshow, they made the movie and then they followed it up with a television series. So, like I said, there's a little bit of cross-pollination going on there.
If you've never if you've never seen Creepshow 2, it's doesn't hold a candle to the original, and it's a lot cheaper looking, but it's not without its charms. Um, the one you're talking about, though, Tales from the Dark Side, I think that last story was terrific. Pretty dark too, considering the tone of the other two.
Yes,
And I
yes,
really liked. I've never been a huge fan of James Remar, but he's really good in this one. He's really effective as a tortured artist.
yes. I I catch up with him on Dexter, when that was on, and he played Dexter's father, who's dead throughout the whole series. And then, interestingly enough, um, Christian Slater plays the same character in the prequel series. So the both of them are in this movie, and they both play the same character in another uh, franchise. Just kind of an interesting coincidence that happened there. And I'll talk a little bit about the connection it has to the other movie when we get to that next. All right, David, we're back around to you. How's it going? You got something good?
Right. Yes, I do have something good. Yeah. So now this I'm going to talk about Young and Innocent. So yeah, this is from 1937, and this kind of brings out another one of Hitchcock's classic kind of story concepts, and that's the wrong man idea. So yeah, so in this you've got Derek DeMarnay. He plays a character called Robert Tisdale, and he's accused of murdering an actress whose body washes up on the beach, partly because he's got a bit of a past with her. And so people don't trust him, and he hasn't got the evidence to prove it wrong. So because basically, along with the body that was washed up, there was a belt washed up that looks like the belt that was from his jacket, but he's lost his jacket. So he's put to trial, but he sneaks out of court and runs away. And along the way, he kind of uh, he he enlists the help of a police constable's daughter, Erica, who's played by Nova Pilbeam. He kind of at the beginning, I mean, she doesn't really want to help him, but he kind of swindles his way in with her. But eventually, the two kind of fall in love, as you might expect. And whilst they're all going through uh, this quest to find the proof to prove that he's innocent. So yeah, again, this is a really enjoyable film. It's a lot of fun. It's not one of his darker films. It takes it. There's a lot of humor. One of the strongest things I found in the film was the characters, because it's a bit of a road movie, really. They're traveling around trying to find this jacket, and along the way they meet a lot of unusual kind of quirky characters. and that's really part of the charm of it. Also, the lead actress Nova Pilbeam, sorry, Nova Pilbeam, she's fantastic. She was only 18, and she's just got a lot of charm, and she really kind of carries the film because the main guy Derek DeMarno, he's okay, but he doesn't really have quite as much charisma as she does. So she kind of really draws you into the story, and it's just loads of fun. The only downside of the film is, well, one is just a very minor thing. Is there are some really bad model shots in the film. There's just, but some of them are totally unnecessary. Like they could have worked. Like from a distance, you think the model works of like a little town, but then suddenly he'll throw in like little model figures of the characters. And it's like, no, don't do that. It looks horrendous. But anyway, that's a very minor thing. And the other thing is, very sadly, just as the film is so good, and then you get to the very final kind of climactic scene, and there's some blackface in there, and it's like, why? I mean, this is the 30s, but still. Basically, it's a minstrel band that are playing at the end, and it kind of plays into the story. So that is a kind of so it ends. There's a bit of a sour note then at the end, but yeah, it's the 30s. These sort of things happen, unfortunately. But other than that, the film is fantastic. It's a whole lot of fun, really.
One I think I've only vaguely heard of, and I know I've never seen. So I love it when people have suggestions for films that I'm going to. I can just tell that some of these things are going to be right up my alley.
It's
And
it's one that I've seen a couple of times. It's kind of grown on me because the first time I saw it, I thought, yeah, that's pretty good. But this time around, I was like, no, actually, I really enjoyed it. So it's definitely worth checking out.
Aces, terrific. Nicole, what other merchandise do you have from movies that you haven't seen?
That's I have one more. Wait, no, I don't. I've seen I think the remaining merchandise are from movies that I have seen. So, and they're both new. So I have a brand new ice mold that I mentioned on the episode for this movie briefly, but I didn't have pictures, and now I'm bringing pictures. I have an ice mold from Jurassic World Rebirth that I received when I was at an advance screening of this movie, and this is the first time that I actually opened the box to provide photos for the Lambcast. So I didn't know what it looked like, but I don't know what the material is like, but it's like soft, and it's
Looks like a neoprene type.
yeah, so I guess you pour the liquid inside and then put that other top on it and then pop it in the freezer and just let it do whatever it's going to do. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm guessing you can only use it for like one, like ice dinosaur or what have you. That's fine though. Now it gives me a reason to create a cocktail with the new Olipop peaches and cream and vodka and a dinosaur ice cube, if you will, whenever I start drinking again.
Well, that hole in the top seems to suggest that you should be sticking a stick in there and turning it into like a popsicle.
Ooh, I hadn't thought of that. I
Well,
like that.
if you do either of those things, we'll have to hear about it in a future
Okay.
show. I can just see myself pouring some Kool-Aid in that and turning it into a popsicle.
I like that idea, Richard.
Probably cherry Kool-Aid, so it's nice and red and vibrant. You could even get creative. You could put in the cherry Kool-Aid in the dinosaur form, let it freeze, and then put in something dark like grape Kool-Aid on top of it so that it looks like the logo.
Ooh, now I have a project.
Well, if you follow through, we're going to want to see pictures.
Will do. And I know a science teacher too, so this could get really interesting.
I like it. Jeffrey, who's next on your list of contemporary action stars?
Okay, so this one she hasn't really done a whole bunch, but I feel like if she started veering more into this lane, she could actually pull it off. So my next one is Charlize Theron. Um, Mad Max Fury Road, of course, is the she can do action movies too. I think her curse has always been people look at the model face and go, but after that, she did Atomic Blonde, and that was really eye opening in the sense of, oh, she can really do this. And I think it was David mentioned F. Gary Gray, and he directed The Fate of the Furious, Cypher, and was just like, oh, okay. So she can really pull this stuff off. And then with the success of these, the not Atomic Blonde, the old guard films, where she's swinging swords and axes as this immortal warrior. I'm kind of digging this, and I know this is more of a Netflix franchise, but I think if she just decides to keep going into this lane, she can really pull it off and have some really fun action movies. And I love the fact that the Old Guard 2, despite not being as much fun as the first one, had her facing off against Uma Thurman, because I really felt like that was a passing the torch, the bride to whatever we're going to call uh, Charlize's iconic action role. But yeah, I think she's one where she just wants to focus on that a little bit more. She was in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness as Clea for a hot second. So if Marvel Studios remembers, oh yeah, we had introduced her when they do the Secret Wars and Doomsday, there's another opportunity for her. So a lot of cool stuff. So she's my next one.
I'm trying to remember. There seems like there's something else. Did she do the Aeon Flux movie? That was an
Yeah.
action film,
Yes,
wasn't it?
I try to forget that one.
Yeah, apparently most people have, and Atomic Blonde was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Uh, it, I like the idea of it, and I mentioned the Fall Guy before. Atomic Blonde gets referenced in the Fall Guy in the opening sequence, so
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of action moves in that particular film. You've mentioned a series that I have no idea exists. I don't know what it is, but Charlize Theron's in it, and apparently Uma Thurman's in it at some point also.
Oh
Now I
yeah,
have to go in search of this. What is it called?
the
Something the
Old Guard.
Old Guard. Okay.
Yeah. And so the first one came out a while ago. This is another 2020. Like Netflix was killing it. That's why they're raising their prices to astronomical prices now. But in 2020, they had Extraction in the Old Guard, and the Old Guard is basically this somewhat more realistic version of the Jedi, and they're going around and taking care of all these threats to society. I don't want to spoil too much for you, but it's the first one is really fun. Second one, I think the real issue is they try to Star Wars it a bit too much, so it's like a cliffhanger. But the first one was really fun and it's worth checking out, especially if you haven't heard or seen anything about it.
Yeah, I'm clueless, so it sounds like it'll be interesting. And like I said, I think you guys mentioned the other ones. Furiosa was, or the Mad Max Fury Road is what she was in. She didn't do Furiosa. She,
She
uh,
popped in it for a hot second, I believe.
yeah, I think just a
Yeah,
leftover scene, I think.
yeah.
I think I
So,
may have watched the first season of the Old Guard, but I have like a vague memory of it because someone that I know introduced me to it, I think, and we watched it on Netflix. So I'm gonna have to go and refresh my memory a bit because I like Charlize Theron. I didn't know that there was another season that came
Oh,
out.
it's just a movie, so you can watch it. I think
Oh, sorry. So the movie, yeah. I
yeah,
thought this was a show. Okay.
no,
So
yeah, they scare me off when it's the series. I just need a less than 2 hour commitment. I can't
yeah,
spend
that was
8 hours
I'm
on
with
it.
you
that's
on
the
that.
thing about one of those Netflix series. I'm going,
Yes,
do I really want to invest, 10 hours into something?
right. Yeah,
I'm good for 2 hours, but
Mm.
yeah.
unless it's going to be consistently good,
Uh
you
huh.
know, spending a long time streaming, binging on a show, I don't know, that's a little bit tough. Of course, I
Yeah.
did just do the complete last season of Slow Horses in 2 days,
There you go. It just
so
depends.
it's possible. Just not sure I should be doing it.
Yeah,
But
Cole Olgar 2 came out last year. It's an hour 47, so no need for
excellent.
yeah,
so
I don't like the poster that I'm looking at. I'm like, wait a minute. So is she not in the site? Wait a minute. Is
everyone is in there from the first one, so it's and they have
okay.
characters that are pretty fun too. So Kiki Lane's still in it, and yeah,
Okay.
it's fun. It's just the ending is more of like a, all right, Netflix, let's not bosh this up. But if they don't, it should be fine.
Well, as
Uh,
far as I know, Gerard Butler hasn't done a pseudo Jedi movie yet, but maybe I'm ignorant of that. Let's find out. Dave, what's your next Gerard Butler film?
Okay. Well, back in 2013, I was totally ready to empty my wallet the second that the trailer for Olympus Has Fallen showed the Washington Monument crumbling to the ground. Um, Seems like most action stars have done their own Die Hard ripoff, and this one was Butler's. Uh, it might even be the quintessential Gerard Butler film. He plays a secret agent or Secret Service agent, Mike Benning, who takes it onto himself to save the president after the White House is taken by Korean terrorists. So it's Die Hard in the White House. And at the time, this is the movie I was hoping A Good Day to Die Hard could have been, and totally wasn't. Um, there's nothing particularly original about the film. It is a checklist of a lot of the tropes that we're all familiar with when it comes to that started with Die Hard. Uh, but there are two unexpected surprises to be found in this one. One, it's extraordinarily violent, even by Die Hard standards, and it might be the most blatantly jingoistic movie I've seen since Air Force One. It practically wraps itself in the American flag and screams America. But I didn't hold that against it. As Die Hard clones go, it doesn't offer a single surprise or a twist, that a fan of the genre doesn't see coming a mile away. But that's also its greatest virtue, and it's actually the virtue for a lot of Butler films. It knows the formula and milks it better than any similar movie that I can think of. Um, and as usual, Butler's character Mike Banning is a great main protagonist. Good enough that I liked both the sequels as well. And I guess there's a fourth one coming too. So
Yeah,
I'm totally on board for a fourth
I'm a
one.
big fan of Olympus Has Fallen, and it is so superior to the same storyline that opened also the same year, White House Down with Jamie Foxx. And
That was so
Yeah.
bad compared to what Olympus Has Fallen.
yeah, it was. This is And the jingoism here is exactly what brings me to the movie, so I'm all good for that. I enjoyed this movie immensely, and like you said, the violence level is over the top, which is perfect for me. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes it seems like people do it just for the purpose of the violence. I like the fact that this occurs in the context, and it just seems like it fits at that moment. It's not plugged in just for to have a scene to show the violence. It's just they show the violence that fits the story at that particular moment. And you're right. It's a good character, and he's come back for two other movies, and I like that. All right. Well, here's the classic film that I hadn't caught up with that has been mentioned on the show a couple of times before, and that I mentioned that I watched just this week, Quiet On. It's a Japanese horror anthology that they spent a huge amount of money on. Apparently, they lost money on it because it didn't do the business that they needed it to do. However, it was nominated for Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars the year it came out. It won a special prize at the Cannes Film Festival, and it's remembered as being one of the best Japanese films of its era, and it is a spectacular looking movie. I, I'm
mm,
I watched it the other day and I thought, holy crimey, does this movie look good? And it's got some interesting sets in it. The skies are frequently just backdrops that have been painted in an interesting way, and they look really cool. So it gives the film an artifice that might be a little off-putting to people, but I think it's really spectacular in the way it comes across in the visuals. And as I was watching the movie, I just thought, this is impressive. Now, it is 3 hours long. It's a long movie. There are only four, I think, episode stories in it, so each of them is quite lengthy, except for the last one, which is a little bit short. I thought a couple of them went on a little long. Uh, Hochi the Earless is the last big story. There's a final little bit, I think, in A Cup of Tea is maybe a 20-minute story, whereas Hochi the Earless is close to an hour in the movie. So they are not necessarily consistent in the amount of time that they involve, but they all look spectacular. And the connection that I had to Tales from the Dark Side here is The Woman of the Snow, which is a story that is very similar to Lover's Vow from Tales from the Dark Side. The payoff is almost exactly the same, and I like the fact that it is told slowly in an interesting way, and I I kind of saw it coming because I'd seen Tales from the Dark Side first, but I was still impressed with the movie. I didn't find any of the stories completely horrifying. It's not nearly as scary or frightening as you would think a horror film would be, but they were all intriguing and well told. And so, like I said, it had been recommended a couple of weeks. Like I said, I think it was Howard recommending it on the previous Roll Your Own. I'd have to look it up, but it'd come up before that, and people had suggested it. So it's one of the reasons that I picked the horror anthology as my top five list for this episode.
Nice. I've seen this. I think I backed up. I think I backed up Howard on this. It's a fantastic film, and actually, The Woman in the Snow is quite a classic Japanese folk story. It's been turned into a couple of other films. I think one of them I've seen, it's actually really good, which is just called. I think it's just called The Snow Woman. Um, that's worth watching. But yeah, it's such, as you say, it's not scary, but it's so atmospheric and just beautifully made. Yeah, it's one of those films you can just once you tap into it, you can just live there for a few hours. Basically, it's the soundtrack's amazing as well. It's really kind of creepy, unusual soundtrack by Toru Takemitsu. Yeah, it's a fantastic film.
I knew I'd have the backup on those technical things from David. He can pronounce those names that I'm not even going to dare try to get to. All right, David, we're back to you. What's your final entry
right.
in the Hitchcock film list that you've got?
Well, my final one, I'm pretty sure I've talked about on the show already, so apologies, regular listeners who want something fresh. But I had to put it on there because it was in the box set, and I think it's fantastic. And that is Alfred Hitchcock's Sabotage. This is from 1936, and it's possibly one of Hitchcock's darkest films. It's still got a little bit of black humor in there, but it is dark. It's basically about it's set in London, and there's it starts off in uh, not the very first scene, but basically it's set around a cinema where there's a guy. But yeah, there's a man called Carl Verloc. He runs a cinema, although he doesn't do much running of it really. He lets everyone else do it. And he's married to a young Sylvia Sidney who plays Mrs. Verloc. And we soon discover that Carl Verloc, Mr. Verloc, is up to no good. He is a saboteur. He is at the beginning of the film. He puts sand into a power station to knock out all the lights in the kind of the center of London for I don't know how long, an hour or something like that. And he's working. They never quite say who he's working for. They kind of keep things like that secret, so as not to bother any countries at the time. But basically, he's working for some kind of foreign outfit, and he's trying to disrupt things. We see him meet his kind of superiors who tell him they want him to. After he puts the lights out, they say, "Oh, that wasn't enough. People were laughing at you. We want to stop the laughter." So basically, they tell him, "We want you to set a bomb off in the center of London, and basically kill loads of people, and to send a message that London shouldn't be laughing and all this kind of stuff." And it goes on from there. But unbeknownst to Carl, there is a detective, an undercover detective who's working at the shop, pretending to work at the shop next door. He's played by John Loder, and he is trying to figure out what he's up to because the authorities have got their eye on Mr. Verloc. They think he's up to no good, and he is. So yeah, and it kind of goes on from there. John Loder, the detective, kind of falls in love with Sylvia Sidney, Mrs. Verloc, and they have a bit of a thing going on there. And you realise that she doesn't have a clue what her husband's actually up to. So there's a bit of an interesting kind of psychological stuff going on there. Yeah, and it's really short, which I love really short films. That's what I like about some of these kind of early kind of 30s films and things is 76 minutes, bang. It just gets to the point. There's no fannying around. It's like, here's the story, here are the set pieces. It's bang, 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 bang. And I love it when a film's like that. It's just straight to the point. And it's really tense. It's, as I say, it's very dark. Psychologically, it's interesting. And but the big thing with it, I'm going to have to spoil the film a little bit because it's hard to talk about the film without kind of saying what happens. But basically, there's a scene about 2/3 of the way through the film where Hitchcock breaks two cardinal sins, which makes the film incredibly shocking. And bear in mind, this is 1936. And he does something that you don't often see in films now, is he kills with a giant explosion. He kills like I don't know how old he is, a 11-year-old boy and a small cute puppy in the same scene, which it's just one of those things you just don't do in a film. But he's like, no, he's going to do it. He after making the film, he did come under fire for it, and he actually is. He's said that he kind of regrets doing it, but really it's needed for the story, and it does really shock, and it also leads to a really dark and quite moving final act. So yeah, so it really brings the film to another level, really, for me. And again, it's beautifully made as you expect from Sabotage. Some fantastic kind of scenes of tension, particularly the bomb scene, because it's one of those cases where he talks about in interviews a lot about how to craft suspense using this as an example. Because basically, um, there's a bomb in the scene and the audience know there's a bomb there, but the characters who are in that scene don't. Well, at least the person that's got the bomb doesn't know it's a bomb. So it's all about feeding the audience that little bit more information than the characters have. Just adds so much more to the scene rather than just all of a sudden a bomb going off. That wouldn't work. It'd give you a shock, but it wouldn't give you that tension, and that's what it's all about, really. It's yeah. So that was my number one pick. Sabotage.
I'm pretty sure I saw this, but I know that I could also be conflating it with Saboteur,
Or
which
maybe.
is, gee, talk about similar titles. But I have a good memory of
Although,
the story you're talking
yeah,
about. But
I
like I
was gonna
said,
say,
I'm getting the other thing mixed in with it, and it's not the same story at all.
and talking of titles, what is quite confusing about this film is it's based on a very famous novel. It's based on The Secret Agent by Joseph Conrad. But what's especially confusing is that Alfred Hitchcock made a film called The Secret Agent before he made this, but that's not based on The Secret Agent. That's based on something else completely. So it's very confusing.
All right. Well, we're going from Hitchcock confusion to enthusiasm for merchandise. Finishing up here, Nicole, although you will get one more shot at it when we get to the exit question. But right now, what's your final piece of merchandise that you want to talk about?
Harry Potter soaps. This is one of the newest items that I have, and I bought these soaps sometime in the fall of last year, and I initially intended to give one of them as a holiday gift to a kid at one of the schools that I work with because he's obsessed with Harry Potter and he dressed up as Harry Potter for Halloween last year. However, that never happened because he hasn't been on his best behavior. And I don't think he's going to get them anytime soon, or probably ever, because he's just not. But I initially, like after I bought it and I left the store and I'm looking at the packages, I noticed that it said that this is men's and natural soap. And I'm like, man, these are men's soaps. So I talked to a teacher who then suggested that she was like, nobody's gonna know. That's around the time that I thought I was gonna give it to the boy, but she's like, yeah, no one's gonna know if you use it, but they have a really strong smell. And for those listening, I have four Harry Potter soaps. The orange box is of a heavy grit orange soap based on the Gryffindor house. Then there is a green zero grit Slytherin soap based on the Slytherin house. And then the other two soaps are based on characters, with one being called the Chosen One. That one is medium grit based on Harry Potter. And the other soap, it comes in a purple box and it's a light grit soap based on Voldemort. And it wasn't until today that I noticed that on the side, each box says "Catch Us in the Wild" with um, an address for, I guess, the company that makes the soaps. But on the other side, it tells you what each soap smells like. So the Harry Potter one smells like bravery and determination, while the Voldemort one smells like ruthlessness, it says. And the Gryffindor soap, it says it smells like a crackling fireplace, while the Slytherin soap, according to the box, it smells like the Black Lake. So yeah, I don't know if I'll use these. I thought about using them as like a hand soap in the bathroom, but they smell really strong. So I don't know if I'm just gonna like sit them on the shelf or something. Until today, I kept them in their original packaging from the grocery store, which, might I add, I was there for a quick run for butter to spray on popcorn. I was running an errand for a math teacher who needed butter for popcorn later for a film club that he runs. And I was like, I'll go get the butter. Meanwhile, I have the butter and I'm walking down the aisle at the grocery store, and there's a little display, Harry Potter display. And of course, I didn't come for soaps, but yeah, and I can't choose one between the four. So yeah, I bought all of them. And now I don't know what to do with them.
Well, I think impulse buying accounts for a lot of the stuff that we get, especially
Yeah.
movie fans. It's like, oh, I didn't even know that existed. And if I walk out of the store, I'll never have it. So I should go ahead and get it now,
I
even
have
though
a
you went in for butter.
I have a Fight Club bar of soap.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I'm not sure what it smells like because I haven't taken the packaging off. For all I know, there's just a brick of wood in there, but it looks cool.
Yeah, Nicole, I think if you use the soaps, you probably want to refrain from using any of your perfumes or colognes that are in your normal retinue. You probably want to just let the soap do the talking for you.
Yeah. But see, then I'm scared that I'll smell like a man, and I don't want to smell like a man.
Funny.
Well, you can always just use the boxes for display purposes. That's one of the
Yeah.
things that over the years I feel bad because there have been so many cereals that I wish I had just collected the cereal box and folded it down and kept it. And I didn't do that. You can do that with this packaging and it'll be in your permanent collection.
Oh, yeah.
Jeffrey, can you hear us now?
Yes, I hear you fine. I don't know what was going on. Just vanished out on me.
Well, that happens, but fortunately, tech can be repaired occasionally by just rebooting, and that's what we've done here. And it's time for you to reboot for your last new action hero.
This one isn't so much a new one, but I feel like he is the Schwarzenegger, the Stallone, the Van Damme of his era. Basically, he was directly handed the torch from Stallone. I'm talking about Jason Statham. He is the epitome to me of the modern action hero because he could care less about Oscar acclaim, award recognition. His movie titles don't even need to be creative. They can be what his job is in the film. He's a beekeeper. He's seeking shelter. And it doesn't matter because Jason Statham is Mr. Reliable when it comes to this genre. Anytime he's in something, I'm like, cool. I know what I'm getting. I'm looking forward to it. And he always delivers. And it doesn't matter what scenario, what he's doing, if there's a little humor needed, or if he's just straight up, giving his menacing glare and that just innate charisma he has. And it doesn't even need to change his hairstyle. He's got a,
His hairstyle.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
it's
I like
like,
it.
got the same look in over 40, 50 movies since he started. And it doesn't matter because it still works for him. And, he's got sequels coming. Like the last one he did, last year's called literally A Working Man. No creativity needed. It's just Jason Statham doing Jason Statham things. And I'm a huge fan. And he's the action hero where all I need to see is, oh, he's in it. Great. I'm there. And so that's why he's my number one of these top five.
Nice.
It's a good choice.
I'm with you on Jason Statham. If he's in the movie, I'm probably going to see it. I I have to say he's probably about 66% for me. For every two films that he's in that I really like, there's one that I just go, oh, that was so mediocre. I don't care for it at all. So I love The Beekeeper. I thought A Working Man was dull as dishwater. Uh, there was a film a couple years ago. I can't even remember the title.
He
It's got
can't either.
it's a French title, and
Oh, Operation Fortune.
there you go. That's it. And it was just like, I don't care about that. Uh, on the giant shark movies, what are those?
Meg.
The
Meg.
Meg.
The Meg. The first one was a lot of fun. The second one was terrible. So it's like
Mhm.
I'm glad to see him in a movie. I look forward to Jason Statham in a movie, but about a third of the time I'm just gonna go, that didn't quite work. And we mentioned, I think Charles Bronson in an earlier part of this discussion, and the remake of The Mechanic is not something that I would recommend, uh,
I didn't
even though
like
it does star Jason Statham. But like I said, I was all for those expendable films. I was glad that he's in those.
Mm-hmm.
All the action guys being together in those movies, I'm down with that. That's fine. A lot of fun there. Yeah, I agree. And by the way, Spy is terrific,
Yeah.
and he's a comedy figure in that. So,
Mm-hmm.
why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah,
All
he's
right.
great. He's great in the early Guy Ritchie movies as well.
Oh yeah,
Like
he's
Lock,
terrific in
Stock, and
those.
Snatch. He's so good in those.
Yes. The
Mm.
Germans.
Yeah, I
I
liked him as Handsome Rob in the Italian
Right. He was
Job
that was
remake.
my introduction to him. And I was like, I feel like the Italian Job and Charlize Theron was in that one too. My least favorite character was Mark Wahlberg, and it's like they keep trying to make him the star, but everyone else is way more engaging and entertaining than he is in this one.
Well, let's see what engaging Gerard Butler film we have to finish off Dave's list.
Yeah, my number one choice is actually was tough to make. I was initially going to put Greenland as the top movie on my list, mainly because disaster is my favorite genre, and it's one of the better recent examples, maybe even one of the best ones ever. Uh, but after thinking about it, I decided that it didn't really fit in as a pure Gerard Butler vehicle like the others. I think Greenland would probably be just as good or almost as good with or without him. So I went with Cop Shop.
There we
Um,
go. That's the one I was looking for.
it's directed by Joe Carnahan. He's an action director who's always been kind of hit or miss. He's done some great stuff and some terrible stuff. But Cop Shop is one of his great ones, and it was criminally ignored in theaters, which is a shame because aesthetically and tonally, it's a really fun throwback to the crime thrillers of the 70s. In fact, when it opens using the main title theme from Magnum Force,
Hmm.
it lets you know where the heart, the movie's heart is at, and I was on board almost immediately. And the basic premise has a low-level con artist played by Frank Grillo, who plays Teddy, who intentionally gets himself thrown in jail to avoid mobsters who are trying to kill him. And meanwhile, uh, Butler plays a hitman named Bob, who also intentionally gets himself arrested and thrown in jail because he's contracted to kill Teddy. And they're put in separate cells, and between them is a rookie cop, Val, who's played by Alexis Louder. Um, and she's really dedicated to her job. And as it turns out, one of the few cops in the movies that isn't totally corrupt and in cahoots with the mob. And when other hitmen come after Teddy, she locks herself in the cell block with Teddy and Bob. And she's also seriously wounded and starting to bleed out. So both sides are trying to gain her trust, and of course she doesn't trust either of them. But like a lot of movies on my list, plausibility is not the driving force behind Cop Shop, but it's brutal, it's violent, it's sometimes really funny. It's got terrific dialogue, and the performances are all perfect for the type of film this is. And I've always enjoyed movies that pitted bad guys against worse guys. Um, and this one has good examples of both. Uh, I could probably do similar. I could also probably do a similar list of non-Marvel Frank Grillo movies. Now that I think about it, but Butler is really cool here. Probably my favorite role of his altogether.
Well, like you can probably tell.
I've not actually heard about this, but looking it up, yeah. And as I say, I do like Frank Grillo, and it's Joe Carnahan as well. I know can be a bit hit and miss, but I do love Narc. So yeah, I've got to check this one out. It looks right up my street.
As I started to say, if you could probably tell, I was very enthusiastic. This is the one that I was thinking of when we were talking earlier about some of the Gerard Butler films. I thought this was, like you said, criminally underrated and not given the kind of release they got. It's another one that I think was a little bit in the COVID wake. It got a release in theaters, but I think people were still a little hesitant about going back to the theaters. What was the year on this? 2021? Yeah. So I'm not sure because I thought it worked gangbusters, and I thought Alexis Louder was terrific in this movie.
Oh, she was.
And I don't know that I've seen her in anything since. I probably have and just don't remember it. But she was really good in this, and I'm
pretty badass herself.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody in this movie it's also pretty violent, and and some of the violence has a touch of humor to it. Some of it is completely deserved. Some of it is completely undeserved. But it was like we said, it's a dark film. There are a ton of these movies that he's made that probably could have similar kinds of things. What's the series where there are two of them now? That's it, Den of Thieves. I've liked both of those, and we're still a little bit iffy about which way the character is going on that. Is he as dark as we think he is, or is he feigning the darkness? But on this one, you don't have to guess. He's dark. So good deal. Thank you for including that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And my last anthology film is probably the mother of most of the anthology films. There were anthology films, horror anthology films that existed before this, but this is the one that most people will remember. And I've talked about it on the show before, and that's Dead of Night, which is from 1945, I think, and features some really clever bits that are kind of creepy and scary, and one that is just completely funny. And then, of course, the last one that gave everybody nightmares forever and has inspired subsequent movies and television shows, including Twilight Zone, 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone, and that's The Ventriloquist Dummy. Dead of Night, is a set of stories that are being told to a group of people at a party. Well, there is an outsider who's kind of joined the party sort of by accident. He appears to have shown up to help the owners of the house with an architectural project that they're working on, and he gets included in the discussion for the weekend, and everybody is telling these various stories. Some of them are, like I said, kind of creepy. The hearse driver is told by a race car driver, and it's a cautionary tale, so to speak, that there's a story about a Christmas party that is kind of haunting. The haunted mirror is it feels like a Twilight Zone episode completely. And the golfer's story, I tell you what, when the film was originally presented, that was cut out, I think, of the original US presentation of the film because the tone of it is so different from everything else. But all the versions that I've seen have included it, and I think it's quite funny.
Yeah, I do enjoy that.
It's a great film.
It is.
And this was one where I thought the wraparound story was just as good as as the other ones.
Yeah, there's a nice payoff on that, and we won't spoil it, but let's just say that you'll want to watch it again.
The only horror anthology, the kind of classic one I'd throw in is Black Sabbath, the Mario Bava one. I saw that for the first time quite recently, I think a year or so ago, and I was very impressed by that. It was really good. It's worth checking out if you haven't.
I'd also
Good
throw
deal.
in the original Tales from the Dark Side.
Hmm.
Or not Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt, excuse
Tales
me.
from the
Yeah.
Crypt, yeah.
Yeah, the British one.
Well, the first one that I remember seeing in a theater we didn't talk about here was The House That Dripped Blood, and I like that one quite well. There were a lot of those English ones that if they weren't Hammer films, they should have been. They felt like a Hammer film, and so that I got impressed with that early on in my film going life, and so I was always happy to see another one. Uh, I'm surprised, Dave, you didn't chime in with Cat's Eye. Come on, we've got a cat one there.
I'm not a fan of that one.
It's not great, but there are a couple that I think are pretty good, and there's some that are really funny. I like the James Woods one, where
That's
this
my favorite.
the smoking clinic, basically. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break here to hear from a fellow Lamb Podcasting Network show, and then we'll be back with our exit question of the week, which is highly anticipated, everybody. So hold on.
The Blueprint Review podcast is a monthly show where writers from the Blueprint Review website get together for a loose conversation about a wide range of films and physical media. In the show, the team reviews at least one previously unwatched disc from their individual collections, as well as talking about upcoming releases that they're excited about. So, if you're into films and shiny discs, go check out the Blueprint Review podcast. You can find us on most major podcasting platforms.
We're back, and it's time for the exit question of the week. I think Nicole has previewed the exit question for us pretty well because I was enthusiastic about a lot of old stuff. Product placement has been in this show a couple of places, and we've got things that people have bought for memorabilia, and that was my question. What's your favorite piece of movie memorabilia that you actually own? I've got a favorite piece that I don't own, and someday I want to, but I also got things that I own that I think will be fun to talk about. So I thought we'd figure out what other people own, because almost all movie fans have something sitting on the shelf, in a drawer someplace, or carried on if your favorite piece of movie memorabilia is a tattoo that you've got on your butt, we're gonna have to see a picture.
Quick, get the camera. No.
So, Nicole, you've kind of been in this lane for the whole show. So let's start with you. What have you got what do you own that is a piece of movie memorabilia that you think this is my pride and joy?
Um, my answer is actually a mug. And although it's one of the most simplest things that I own, and it's not as cool as the purses or the Harry Potter soaps, I chose it because it's one of the most meaningful based on your criteria for this question, which was let's keep it personal. So, in around the Thanksgiving holiday or after the Thanksgiving holiday, I received a notification that I was the winner for a contest called Wicked for Good, who's changed you for the better. And this contest was based on the part two Wicked that came out last year. And in the contest says, in Wicked, Elphaba and Galinda remind us that some people come into our lives and leave us forever changed. And then I guess it pulls a quote from the movie. And the contest asks, who is the Galinda to your Elphaba at work? Maybe it was a mentor or a coworker. Who's changed you for good and how? And I want to kind of circle back really quickly to just add some context. Excuse me. This contest was at my client's building in my town for a part-time job that I picked up in recent years, like a few years ago. And so since it's part-time, I'm not there all the time, but I used to work there quite frequently. And then after some things happened, I ended up having to reduce my exposure there or my time there due to various things. And I selected this mug because when you think about like the workplace and people, like whether people stay at a job or leave a job, the focus seems to be on the job with regards to decisions that people make. And from experience and observation, it seems to be that it's not necessarily the job that you have that affects your experience, like at work. It's most likely the people in the workplace that you have to deal with that impact your experience of your workplace. So anyhow, my I was very surprised that I won this contest because I forgot I applied for different contests or different things. I might get an email or something like, "Hey, you can win this book." I might, if I have a few minutes, I might like respond to it. But because of this particular job at this particular workplace, I felt compelled to at least respond to the contest, even if I didn't win it, because it instructs people to like leave a comment giving a shout out to your Galindas at work for the chance to win some wickedly good prizes. It says, and the contest ended at the end of November after Thanksgiving. So I wrote that this is a bittersweet question for me because my Galinda is and was my manager who left. She said, yeah, like I didn't know she was going to leave, but when she left, I kind of felt like she left me, even though it's not her, she's not required and it's not her like job to stay at a place that she doesn't want to stay at. I wrote that she saved my life and I would not be here without her. And she left my employer in 2024, but she instilled in me the importance of being present and accessible as a leader, the importance of looking your best and connecting your teammates to new opportunities, trying to build rapport with your team and always striving to do better. And since she's gone, when she left, a woman who is kind of at the top of the hierarchy for our client then became my Galinda. I wrote that through her actions, thoughtfulness, and leadership, she reminded me of the importance of having standards, making sure everyone around you is operating at or above that standard, and I also wrote that a team is only as strong as its weakest link. And she was a positive example of a motto that I've tried to live by when I can remember it, which is how you treat people matters. And she not only established an employee of the month program that came with some tangible benefits based on coworkers of mine that won that program, but she also did little things that made a big difference in people's workday, including my own and that, of my coworkers. Although she also left the company recently, her presence is still missed. And today, my Galinda is a coworker, but it isn't a woman. My Galinda is a man named Jeff, a man who I used to work with frequently, but I haven't seen him a lot in a couple of months due to our schedules. But his bright and pleasant personality brought some fun to what a very tense workday might otherwise be. And whether we're dancing to music at an event or making jokes at our desks or simply nodding in a I see you or I get it kind of way. He always reminds me that I'm not alone and wanting to maintain an upbeat or at least positive demeanor at work, regardless of the environment. Everyone at the company is familiar with the phrase, "How are you?" Because that's something that people ask every day, even out in the street. That's something that most people ask each other at work. Of all the people on my so-called team, Jeff is the only person who I believe genuinely wants to know how I am, and he actually means it. So that's what I wrote. That's why I picked this mug, even though it's just a mug. And I never saw the Wicked for Good movie. um, it's something that's an important movie merchandise item for me.
Well, I like that your story about the item isn't about its scarcity, about its uniqueness, about its value, or even about your personal greed for it, the avarice that you might have for it. It's about the people that you worked with. And I think that's a great way to make a judgment about the worth of a piece of memorabilia like that. And I appreciate your sharing that. David, let's have you next. David Brook.
Oh well, yeah, I'm gonna go. I've got a picture I'm gonna share in a sec as well, but I'm gonna go personal too, and I am gonna pick a prop from a film that I think it's from two films. I might be wrong in thinking that a film that I was involved with. I'm gonna drop it right in here now. Basically, it's a baseball bat. So we made a. There, I'm looking mean in the picture, but yeah, we made a short film called Vigilante a long while ago when I used to work for a company called Blueprint Film, which is why my website is called Blueprint Review because they fund it. And yeah, we made a short film about a kind of a vigilante in a small kind of rural village in the UK. And then we went on to actually expand that idea into a feature film, and it was the first feature film I ever worked on. And this baseball bat, as I say, I can't remember if it was used in both films, but I'd like to think I think it probably was. But it's used in quite a key scene at the end of the film, quite a brutal, nasty film, a brutal, nasty scene at the end of each film, which our kind of protagonist uses. And when we closed the Lincoln office of Blueprint, where I work, because everyone else moved down south to London and I stayed up here, when we were closing the office, I saw it there and I was like, oh, I'm going to have that. And I helped myself. So hopefully no one minds. And if Darren's listening, sorry, I've got the baseball bat. And it's been sat in my greenhouse actually for a while. But yeah, but it means a lot to me. It was amazing to work, especially. I mean, the short film wasn't my first short, but the feature was my first feature that I ever worked on, um, which was yeah. So I've got fond memories of it. So it's nice to have something to keep from that.
What was the name of the film? Because I think I saw your movie.
Sorry, yeah. The short film was Vigilante, but sorry, I keep forgetting we changed the name of the feature. When it was a feature, it became Small Town Hero.
That's it.
Um,
That's it.
and it's available. You can stream it. You can find it knocking around. It's a good little movie. It's worth checking out.
It's very solid. I remember when were promoting it, and
Mm.
you were kind enough to share a link with me, and I do have a review on my site of it. It's probably not as deep as it probably could be, but I like the
That's
film
fine.
quite well, and I like that you have the bat. That's terrific. Jeffrey, you're back with us. We were going to go to you, but you had vanished for a second. Are you there now?
I am here now.
All right.
So mine would be I have a custom made album cutout of the Avengers. So my wife and I started dating right around the time the first one came out, and she had a passing familiarity with the characters and said, "What? This is no. We've got to watch all these movies." So we watched the first round of the films, and then our second movie trip was actually going to the theaters to see Avengers. So after a few years of marriage and all this stuff, she got this cutout that this artist made of the Avengers and the Guardians all together. So that is my favorite movie memorabilia, simply for my own personal connection.
Well, that's nice that it's connected to your relationship too, because it's something that you shared with your spouse. I like that.
Yeah.
And if you've got a picture, I've got to have it because I got to
Oh,
see
definitely.
what you're talking
Yeah.
about. I've got an image in my head of what it might be, but I don't think that's complete. And if I have to go look for it online, I'll never find it. It doesn't.
I'll
It
send
sounds
it
like
to
it's a little bit more specialized.
you. Yeah, I'll send it to you in just a second.
Okay, great. Thank you. And all you people out there who are watching, listening to the show, make sure you check out the Illustrated podcast so that you can see these things that we are talking about here. Dave, well, Jeffrey's getting ready to send me a picture. Let's move on to what you might be sharing with us.
Okay, like you, my favorite piece of movie memorabilia is something I don't own yet. Um, I pre-ordered it a year ago and I'm still waiting. So in the meantime, of the stuff that I currently own, my favorite piece is a 1/18th scale die-cast model of the Deathmobile from Animal House. And
Oh,
I,
awesome.
I emailed you a picture. Uh, I collect a ton of stuff. Die-cast vehicles from movies are probably my favorite. And of those, this one is my current favorite. I even took this one out of the box because I'm not going to sell it. um, and it's really heavy. And I typically like to find these things out in the wild, but this one's a pretty rare one, and I ended up having to buy it on eBay and paid more for it than it was probably worth. But it really looks great in my display case.
I like that. Are you the one who had the jet from one of the airport movies?
That's what I've pre-ordered. I've been waiting a year. A diecast of the jet from Airport 75. Um, I I I get updates that they're still waiting, but so far nothing.
Oh man, well, I'm sorry that it hasn't arrived yet, but I'm sure that when it does, we'll get a picture of it up somewhere. You know, I
Absolutely.
I could use it for your avatar in the illustrated podcast. I'd love to do that. As you guys probably know, I've mentioned it before. I'm a huge James Bond fan, and the one thing that I would love to have is the golden gun from The Man with the Golden
Mm.
Gun. There are reproductions out there that I haven't quite brought myself to spending $400 for, but I have spent the money to get the briefcase, and
Oh, yes.
I did it. This is a reproduction of the briefcase. It's a little bit different. I actually have the original briefcase toy that was released back in 1964, I think it was, or 1965. It probably came with the release of Goldfinger. So it was, and I have it. That's the thing that's in the storage thing. I was a kid when I got it. It was a gift on my birthday. That's the start of my huge James Bond obsession, and I played with it. So of course, there are things missing from the original set. I don't have the little plastic dagger that came out of the side. I don't have I don't think I have the scope that goes on the weapon. I did have the shoulder bolster for the weapon. Uh, I used up all of the cards, but this update has some things that are slightly different. The little film projector actually includes some slides that you can put in that'll give you images from the films. From Russia with Love, I think is prominently featured because that's where the briefcase was introduced. So it's basically a reflection of my obsession with James Bond, which I'm going to be starting on a project related to that, and it may show up here in a project that's going along with the Lambcast. So I
Nice.
mentioned last week on the Illustrated podcast and the regular podcast that there might be a little bit of a surprise. I might be tipping my hand a little bit here, but that's okay. I
Mm.
don't mind doing that at all. So this is something that I got just a year and a half ago to update. I got to dig the other one out so I can do a comparison picture, but this is what I
Oh,
had available now.
that is very awesome. I'm a big Bond fan too. It's no, I'm jealous. I love that.
Well, we've gone long on the show today, but I do want to give everybody a chance to promote something that they have that they might want people to turn their eyes and ears to. So if you've got something that you would like to share with us, let's hear it now. Jeffrey, let's start with you. Have you got something that people should be looking at?
Yes, we just did on my weekly podcast every Wednesday at 8:05. Last week we did a watch along to the very first Resident Evil. The week before, we broke down our favorite vampire movies, prompted by Sinner's big Oscar wins. So you can definitely check those out. Again, this week we're going to be talking about characters that actually should get a spinoff. We get so many where it's like, why are they making a spinoff of this character? And this week we're going to talk about the ones that do deserve that.
That deserve it. I like that. That'll be fun. Dave Anderson, how about you? Something that you think people would like to read about or hear about?
I've got a couple of upcoming 4K box set reviews of a few cult classics from Arrow, Inner Space and Soldier, the movie with Kurt Russell.
That sounds like fun. I like both of those.
I've been sent the Inner Space disc. I haven't got around to it yet. Is it good?
Hey, let me ask you something. Are they sending you check discs?
Yeah, yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Half the fun of reviewing Arrow stuff was all the physical goodies, and
Mm.
I don't get those anymore.
Yeah, there aren't many. There's only two labels that send me the fully boxed ones. It's imprint and second run, but everyone else, yeah, it's always just check discs.
For me, it's just Arrow and Reliance.
Ah.
Well, I'm not getting anything for free. I'm buying all this stuff, and every time you guys put up something, I'm going, there goes some more of my money. Nicole, do you have anything that you want to promote?
Well, speaking of the Oscars and award season in general, I remember on a previous Lambcast episode, I mentioned that I considered writing a post in response to the BAFTA situation. Now I think I might do that and also convert my roll your own top five list into individual posts for the blogging from A to Z challenge that happens every year. I used to participate in it for several years, and then I became a co-host for the challenge at the request of the man who founded it. But then I stopped participating in it. And lately, for those who are unfamiliar with it, the way it works is people from around the world take on the challenge to publish a blog post every single day in April, with the exception for Sundays. And every single post has to coincide with a letter of the alphabet. So um, I might get back into that in April, and I think this top five movie merchandise list gives me some content to use for that. But I have yet to make a final decision on
I
that.
haven't committed to it yet, but
Yeah.
if it does go up, we'll make sure that people know about it. Thank
Y-
you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and as usual, I'm just still trying to catch up with the films that I've seen in the theater on my regular blog page, and I do think I announced last week that I got something special coming that'll show up in the Lambcast on the Lamb site regularly. It's going to be a long-term project, and I'm going to invite other people to participate in the project once it gets launched. So you might, when you encounter it, think about how you could participate because I'm happy to have people join me on this. I would like to encourage everybody to also not to forget to vote for the April Movie of the Month. We have five animated films because that's the genre that we're doing in April that have been suggested. The Last Unicorn, Titan AE, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, Akira, and Watership Down. And I haven't
Ooh.
checked on the progress, but
Nice.
I know we've had a few votes here and there. And if Tony Coogan is out there voting, we're going to end up doing Watership Down. And if you don't want to have Watership Down in your nightmares, you better think about voting for something else. Not that I have any problem with it. It'd be perfectly fine, but I know a lot of people, you know, it triggers them.
If that one wins, I'd be happy to participate.
Well,
Mm.
good. Then I'll be checking in for future volunteers. Right now, I think I only have two people who are committed to that episode, so we'll see how it goes. Um, and keep your eyes open in your mailboxes, everybody, for the new schedule. It'll be coming out in the next week or so for May and June. So hopefully you'll find things that you are interested in joining us for then. I want to thank everybody for joining me once again this week. It's really great to have people on the show that have been uh, out for a little while, then come back. Jeffrey, I think it's been several months since you've been
Yeah,
on the show, but I'm really thrilled that you were able to join us again.
me
And
too.
I know that David Brook loves these kind of look back shows, but he's not always available to do them. And I'm glad when you're able to join. And Dave Anderson, it's always fun to have you. And Nicole, I just love it when you're on the show. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of you. I hope you have at least top five things to think about during the week that'll make your lives better. Till next time, everybody, have a good one.
You've been listening to the Lambcast. If you have an idea for a show or would like to join us on the Lambcast, contact us at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Find us on Facebook, just search for Lambcast, or on X, formerly Twitter, at Lambcast. And you can find us on YouTube as well. The Lamb site can be found at largeassmovieblogs.com. We'd also love it if you would leave a review on iTunes.
Ha 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 ha